What's up, everybody? It's me, Erica, and this is going to be your episode recaps for Behind Your Eyes, episodes 1 and 2. This is a new show that is on Netflix that premiered on the 17th of February. I started watching it last night. I watched the first 2 episodes. Um, I was about to start episode 3. Then I was like, no, I want to review it, but I want to review 2 episodes at a time. So here we are. Now, I'm going to read just the premise of the story. Let me read it real quick so that you can just get what it is. I do hope, I know I'm asking because this is only episodes 1 and episodes 2. Please do not reveal what is in any other episodes, okay? Please don't do that. It is so messed up to spoil something. Please make sure when you're talking about the episodes that you are vague, right? That you are, that you're going along with the episodes, right? So don't mention anything that happened in episode 3 in these 2. I know y'all know, but there's some people like, I don't remember what show it was. I don't know if it was Bling Empire. It was Bridgerton, when somebody said who Lady Whistledown was. And I deleted the comment because I'm like, no, don't say that. There are other people who are not who are just watching the review and not watching the episodes, that just come down here to watch the reviews. I don't want them to look in the comments and then be like, damn, okay, well, that just messes it up for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So please don't do that. So the description from online says, a single mother enters a world of twisted mind games when she begins an affair with her psychiatrist boss while secretly befriending his mysterious wife. Okay, so this is actually also a book. The book is a novel by Sarah Pinborough. It is classified as a psychological thriller, supernatural fiction. So if that's something that you're into, go for it. For me, when I saw that it had to do with something about, I saw one of the titles of the episode, which episode 2 is called Lucid Dreaming. I'm all in for that. All in. So the first episode starts off with this Black woman. Her name is Louise. And it starts off with her getting ready to go on a date. As she's getting ready to go on this date, her neighbor comes over to help to babysit her son. She's a single mother, right? She has a little boy. Looks like he's about, I want to say maybe 8 or 9. Very little, young little boy named Adam. And neighbor comes over and she watches Adam for her. She goes to this bar. She's sitting at the bar, and then her friend stands her up and says that she can't come. As she's turning around to leave, she bumps into this guy. She spills his drink on him. And then she says, the least I can do is get you another drink. So he gets another drink. He orders this scotch that is kind of expensive for her taste. She was like, she went to hand, the money, and then he was like it was 12 pounds. And then she was like, oh. As she's sitting there, so he asked her like, oh, do you come here often? And she was like, are you for real? And so they end up talking, right? So she was about to leave, so they're sitting down and they're having a conversation. And she's witty, how people are overseas, you know what I'm saying? I love the wit, I really do. So they're having a conversation, they're laughing and everything. They walk out, and she was like, okay, well, I'm like this way, and he's like, yeah, and I'm this way. And then they kind of go in for this kiss, right? And it's weird because as he's kissing her, he's really like so passionate already. I was like, okay, dude, you're super passionate already. Because he was like, already breathing heavy. I was like, okay. And then he just stops all of a sudden. He was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't do this. And then he walks away and she was like, okay. So then the next day she goes into work and she finds out that the guy that she bumped into is her new boss. She's in there with the other admin and she was like, "Oh, our new boss starts today." And he's already in there with the other partners of this, this center. He's a psychiatrist, right? So she goes to the back to like put her stuff away in the refrigerator or whatever, and she's looking to try to see who her new boss is, and it's him, and he's sitting there with his wife. So she's looking. She was like, "Oh my god!" Like, "Oh my god!" So she goes in the bathroom. She rushes to the bathroom. She locks herself in the bathroom. Okay. Now, a part of the story is that Louise has night terrors. And in her night terrors, you can see um, pills dropping. There's a clock ticking. Her son is running, and like she's running after her son through these halls, and he's like screaming for her. And then it's like you could see like these like undulations in the wall as she's um, having these night terrors, but she's also sleepwalking as well. So at some point you hear her scream, and then there was another scene where she goes onto her balcony and she ends up cutting herself. Okay, so then we go to David's house. Now David is the name of the psychiatrist, and he didn't see her on the first day, right? He was able to avoid him. At his house, you can see him sitting at a table. He's reading the paper or whatever, and then you see his wife come in. Her name is Adele. She, to me, is beautiful. I don't know what it is. I think it's because the way her eyes are shaped. They're like really really round, and she communicates with her eyes a lot, but her all right here, it just is very like stoic. It's like like you could see her acting is in her eyes, and I was like, oh my god. And I described it earlier. I don't know who I was talking to, but I described it as mesmerizing. Like I keep looking at her when she's on screen. I'm looking at her like her, and I think it's really the way her eyes look, and her hair is dark. She has like this little short cut, right? And she walks over to the cabinet. She opens the cabinet. There's a bunch of pills in the cabinet. And she takes out a pill and she puts it in her hand. She shows him and she takes it, right? So we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? Then he tells her, I'm gonna call you around 11:30. Now, what was weird is when he was leaving, she gives him a kiss and she tells him, I love you. And he says, I know. And he just walks away. And I was like, what the is going on with these people? Right? So back at the office, the David finally meets Louise, right? And she tells him, I'm your admin. And he was like, what are you doing here? When she first walked in, he was like, what are you doing here? And she was like, I work for you. And she was like, don't worry about it. You know, he was like, you must think like I'm a shit, right? She was like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You had too much to drink. It's no big deal. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to say anything. It's cool. No worries, right? He also, what was funny was when he was talking to her, he really couldn't get his words together. He seems like he can't, like, she's a lot for him. Like, he's really enamored by her, right? He just can't, like, he keeps like looking at her. Later they show David and Adele at this dinner party with the new people that he's working with. Now they're new to the town. They have moved there from, I can't remember where they said they moved from. Louise tells David how, different spaces around town where is good part of town, bad part of town. And he mentions that he wants to, in his work with junkies and people in the community, addicts. I shouldn't have said junkies. Addicts. Oh my God, that was awful. Addicts in the community, but I think he refers to them as junkies. Sorry. And let's see. So at the dinner party, they're with their colleagues and their spouses, and they talk about having a real opportunity to move to this town and how it's really good for David. This is going to be really good for him. And after they come home, right? Um, they come home, they start having sex, and he won't look at her. I think she tells him, "I love you," and then he stops like all of a sudden, and then they try to. I think they try a different position, and he just. I don't think he's not attracted to her or something. Something's wrong. There's something missing there. You also are able to see scar tissue on his arm, which I thought at first was a tattoo because it's really red, and I was like, what is that on his arm? So we see like this scar tissue. Then we get a flashback, and it's his wife, Adele, and she has longer hair, and she's dressed like in like I don't know, like scrubs it looks like, and she's by this tree, and it looks like she's in a psychiatric facility, right? In a mental hospital. There's another guy there, and they're kind of talking about um, what happened. And he says how he can't, no, that he can sleep. And she says something how she can't sleep. And he was like, why? Because you were asleep when the fire started. And she just kind of glossed over that. We kind of get into the story that after there was a fire in the house that Adele was in, and that is what put her, and her parents died in the fire, and that is what put her in this psychiatric facility. Back at Adele's house, her son's father comes to the door after bringing him back from the weekend and says that he wants to take Adam for a month to go to France because his new girlfriend or wife or partner is pregnant, and he wants to be able to bond with the son during this time so that he doesn't feel, so he doesn't feel a kind of way when the new baby gets there. And she was like, no, he's not going. Absolutely not. And then her little boy gets upset and he says, I hate you. I hate you. And he closes the door. And then after she talks to her girlfriend, and her girlfriend or neighbor girlfriend or whatever, she kind of explains to her, like, yeah, you're going to be doing all of this for your son, and then your son is going to grow up and he's going to leave you. And then what are you going to be doing with your life? You're just going to be sitting here. What's up? She was like, do you want to have a new life? I mean, like, what do you want to do? And so she's grappling with the idea of letting the son go off to France for a month. In the last scene, Louise is dropping her son off at school. And she drops her son off at school, and as she's hitting the corner, she bumps into David's wife. Bumps in, all her shit falls on the floor, on the ground. When she looks up and she goes, "It's you," right? Because there's a part in one of the scenes where the picture on his desk, on David's desk of him and his wife, is face down on the desk, and Louise puts it back up, right? She puts it back up so she recognizes the wife, and then she was like, "It's you," and she was looking like, okay. Then she tells her that, oh yeah, I just was walking from David's office. I was just walking from his office. And she says, did she tell him that she was going to the gym, but she didn't have on gym clothes? Okay. All right. She didn't have on gym clothes. Am I tripping? Anyway, so after they bumped into each other, they had their little small talk, and she was like, let's go for coffee. And so they're sitting, she was like, yeah, let's go to coffee. You knocked me down, right? So as she's walking, she was like, you lead, I'll follow. And as she's walking, you could see Adele kind of looking at her like, mm-hmm. Like, just kind of sizing her up, kind of seeing who she is, right? Because you just told me that you're my husband's secretary. So I'm looking at you. So she's kind of standing behind her as she's walking. That's really how it ends. They go for coffee, and in the next episode, which is episode 2, they start off where they left off. So they're sitting down drinking coffee. Oh, but on the other episode, he calls her, and I think he asks her, "Are you with anybody?" And she just completely lies to him, and tells him that she was going out getting some paint samples. I think that's what she said. She was going out. I'm going out to get some paint samples. And so she tells Louise not to tell him about their meeting because he doesn't like to mix work life and home life, and that as women, we need our own things for ourselves. It seems like Louise is like kind of weirded out, but kind of like that person who does not have like good boundaries. So they're like, okay, they say okay to everything, even though they don't have time to do it. They have someplace else to be. She just seems like she's like, okay to everything. Like, okay, let's go for it. But weirded out by the experience at the same time. So she wants to exchange numbers, right? So this is where it's kind of getting weird because I'm like, girl, why do you want to exchange numbers with me? Of course, she gives her the number. And as she's leaving coffee, she already sends her a text and it says, "It's me," right? Even Louise was like, girl, what? Like, what the F? Like, what's up with this chick? Anyways, so they go back to the psych ward, right? And you can tell that the guy, Rob, this is a new character named Rob, um, he is now cool with Adele. So they're kind of like laughing, and they kind of are like, I guess, buddies in this psychiatric ward that they're in. And as they're hanging out outside, a nurse comes and she says, David is on the phone. And so when she goes to get on the phone with David, the guy kind of follows her in there and he's laughing with her. So it shows her on the phone. And I can't remember what they said when he was on the phone with her. But clearly, they're, boyfriend and girlfriend already. Okay. So they're out of the flashback and they're back. So she told her husband that she was going to get paint samples, right? She got the paint samples, and in the room, it's just a white wall, and she's painting all of these different colors, which for me, I thought they were the same colors that Louise had on. It was kind of like to me, in my mind, I thought the color palette was similar to what Louise had on. And I was like, don't tell me that she's already getting obsessed with this woman. But turns out she paints this scene. It's like a forest, and it's amazing. And you could see it actually on the community page. It looks similar to the image that you see on the poster, on the promo poster, but it's on this wall and she paints it, right? And it seems to be this forest that she's having flashbacks. So in her flashbacks, you see this forest scene. You don't see much going on in the forest, but it's just forest, right? There's also in the forest, there's also a well, and they kind of go take a shot down the well, and in the well you see a watch. Now in the flashback, Rob is asking Adele about the watch that she has on, and she was like, "Oh, this is David's. He can't wear it right now." So you kind of are thinking, okay, the scar on his arm and that watch have two things to do with one another, right? But when she is in her flashback, when you go down to this well, you can see the watch in the dirt. Okay, so in another scene, Adele is going in, I guess, her basement. She's going down someplace. She gets this book that has a notebook that has some instructions in it. And in the instructions, it says, pinch myself and I say I am awake once an hour. Look at my hands, count my fingers, look at the clock or watch, look away, look back, stay calm and focus, think of a door. Now, these clearly sound like instructions for lucid dreaming. If you have any experience with lucid dreaming, you have to, while you're in your subconscious, your conscious mind has to basically remind your subconscious that you are in a subconscious state. So by counting your fingers, finding a clock to look at the time, saying these things, you are able to know that you are able to, and then think of a door, so that if you are in any situation in your lucid dreaming, you're able to exit, right? So when I saw that, I was like, okay, we getting into something. We getting into something. All this time, everything is very, very weird. At this point, like I said, I'm on episode 2. I have no idea what's going on, and I don't think I want to watch. Like I did Bling Empire and Bridgerton, and I watched the series in its entirety, and then I reviewed it and watched it again. Right now, how I want to do it, I want to watch it and then come review it. I don't want to watch it and then watch it again to take notes or whatever. I just want to watch it and come down here and talk to you guys about it, and I want to watch it as I go. I don't want to know what happens and then review it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ooh. All right. So, let's see. So, back at the house, David comes in and she tells him to come and look at the painting that she's done on the wall or whatever. And he walks into the bedroom and he sees the forest, and he asks her, why would you do this, right? And I don't understand what's happening. So please don't tell me. I don't understand what's happening. All I know is, from what I know about lucid dreaming, is that don't tell me, but I feel like she was led to that well to keep her there in her subconscious mind, and so she can't find her way back in her subconscious. But I don't know. That's just all that I'm thinking as I'm processing it. Anyways, Adele sends Louise a text and asks her, does she want to go to the gym? She agrees. Girl, first of all, you didn't met this man happenstance, so we think. You met this man, and he just so happens to be your boss, and then you bump into his wife on the street around the corner from your kid's school. She tells you, don't tell my husband that we're friends. And now y'all, she's texting you and she wants to go out. Girl, you're already in a mess. You're already in a mess, Louise. Okay? So back at work, right? Back at the job, Louise goes into David's office. Now remember, David is mad because of this forest mural that Adele painted on the wall. So he has a bad attitude. So Louise walks into the office and she asks him something, and he was like, can you knock first? Well, at first she walks over to the desk and the picture is down once again, and she lifts the picture up, and he's like, put that down. And he's like real snappy with her, and she was like, okay. And then as she was walking out, he was like, can you knock next time? Can you knock first? Something like that. He was just kind of rude to her. So she goes back to her desk and she sends a text back to Adele. Was like, yeah, girl, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go to the gym with you. So I was like, girl, you mad at your boss. And so you decide to get back in him, or to whatever. You impulsively agree to go to the gym with his wife. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So anyways, what I thought was really weird, and it happens twice in this episode, where both of these people show up to Louise's house. First of all, Adele, how did you get her address? That's number one. Number two, why are you picking her up? Why didn't y'all just meet there? So I'm like, it's weird. And then later on in the episode, David pops up at Louise's house just randomly, and she allows them both into her house. Now, what I know from also lucid dreaming, it helps that in your conscious mind that you have a layout of spaces so that you can see when you arrive in the space in your subconscious, you can see the layout of the room. So I for some reason think that this is not all by happenstance, because I don't understand why they just showed up at her house. Anyways, so Adele comes and picks up. They go when they're working out or whatever. After they're done working out, they're sitting in the sauna. They're sitting in the sauna, and Adele shares with Louise that both of her parents died, and Louise was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry," and that David saved her from this fire, right? But then it gets weird because she was like 17 at the time, but she's been with him since she was 18, but he saved her in the fire when she was 17. So I don't know if are they the same age? Is he a little bit older than her? But it was weird. So she realizes the time. First they were like, okay, let's go get something to eat. She sees the time and she was like, no, let's just come to my house. We can have lunch in the garden. And so she has to be home by a certain time. So when David calls, she's there. So as they're sitting outside in the garden, Louise is kind of like enjoying, like her son is gone, right? Did her son leave yet? She agrees to allow her son to go on the trip. That's kind of, to me, I feel like that's kind of important because it leaves her space to be by herself, right? So I don't think, oh no, we haven't got to that part yet. So after they're at her house, she gives her that book that has those directions in it for lucid dreaming, right? And she tells her, I've had night terrors too, and a lot of people don't remember their night terrors, and because you remember them, that makes you special. And it was funny because when she told her that she had night terrors and that she sleepwalked, she was like, "Oh, you do?" Like, "Oh, girl, you got a gift, honey." That's how she was she looked very much interested. You couldn't see it, like it was just her facial expression just like changed real quick, and I was like, oh, okay, she's very interested in her being able to remember her night terrors and being able to sleepwalk, or that she actually does sleepwalk. So she gives her the book and she lets her know to read it. Adam goes off with his dad, and so now she called out, right? So when they were where were they, at the gym? She tells her to call out. She's like, I did not ask if I can take the day off, but my son is leaving for France and I want to spend the time with him. So Adele suggests to her that she calls out. She's like, don't worry about it. Spend time with your son. So as she's reading this book, she's reading this book of these words, and there's a knock at the door. She goes to the door and it's David. First of all, boundaries, number one. Like, why the fuck are you at my house? That's why I was like, this nigga is creepy. Like, both of them are super duper creepy. I don't know what the hell is going on, but it's like when he's with Adele, he seems very angry. When he's with Louise, he's very soft. It almost feels like his guard is down, right? There are a lot of aerial shots when David is around, like in his office, and then when he was when he was at Louise's house, which I feel like is Adele lucid dreaming. Like, I feel like she's following him around. That's how I feel. Don't tell me if she is. Please don't tell me, but that's what I feel that's going on. Just based on those, like, it was a couple of aerial shots that was like kind of hovering, And I was like, oh, somebody is watching them. Like, but it's so good. It's so good. And it's like, it's not a lot of details that are happening, but I'm like, okay, what's about to happen next? What's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? Anyways, so let's see where we are. Okay, so David knocks on the door, right? He knocks on the door and she offers him a drink. He comes in, they're having conversation. It gets a little awkward and she was like, I think you should leave. So as he's walking out the door, they start kissing and then they stop and they start kissing again and then they end up having sex. I was like, girl, what are you doing? And when I tell you that the sex that David had with Adele looked nothing like the sex he was having with Louise. He was getting his entire life, right? He goes and he takes a shower and then he leaves, right? And she kind of looks like, like, what the did I just do? Girl, yeah, you just screwed your boss and you're hanging around with his wife who probably knows what you're doing. Anyways, I don't know. Please do not, please, because I'm going to watch the other episodes tonight, so please do not ruin it for me. Anyways, so when David gets home, he walks up the stairs, all the lights are off, Adele is laying in the bed, he kind of like looks in the room, he thinks she's asleep, of course, and then you can see her eyes opening. So he's been telling her that he wants to find the areas in London where addicts are so he can do some kind of community mental health services and things like that, right? So what do we think? So what we have, we got a lot of missing pieces that I'll probably get answered in episode 3 and 4. But I'm thinking that David was doing something inappropriate with her. Maybe she killed her parents and that's why she's in the psych ward, and that she killed them in a, because they said she was asleep, right? So maybe she killed them. Maybe she got so good in her lucid dreaming that she was able to kill her parents in the lucid dream. Maybe I'm just digging too deep into it, but that's how I feel. Anyways, you guys, that's pretty much it. Tell me what you guys think of the episodes 1 and 2 so far. It's not a lot of stuff in episodes 1 and 2, just these weird things like no clue what happened. Camera just cut off. I was like, did my battery die? Battery's not gonna die. Spooky. Anyways, you guys tell me what you thought of episode 1 and 2. What do you think is going on? Why do you think Adele is in the psychiatric ward? Do you think that their meetings were happenstance, or do you think that they were trying to get her? Like, I feel like there's some targeted effort between this man and this woman. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening, and I'm so excited to watch episodes 3 and 4 tonight. So tomorrow we'll come back, or Friday we'll come back with episodes 3 and 4. Yes, Friday we'll come back with episodes 3 and 4. Take care of each other. Protect your energy. Let's get into it. Peace.